extension exercises. I'm just going to stop sharing. Great. These are intense, but in the best way possible.
So you're going to put your block underneath the knee and the leg line that you're working.
So you can also use a pull buoy. I'm glad you're learning new things, whoever wrote that. It's awesome. So what this exercise does is it teaches, if you go to a gym and you're on one of those machines and they, this exercise with the weight, just doing standard knee extension, right? This essentially does that. It's the same thing. The only difference is we're teaching our athletes to maintain the coordination of the entire body, meaning you have to keep your upper posture and you have to keep parallel, because in your sport, unlike dance, your athletes need more of a parallel alignment and internal rotation in the femur line is used way more often than an external. External is primarily an egg beater, but for most of your sport, a lot of the movement in the pelvis and leg chain is in fact in an internal rotation dependent line. So we say hug, internal, so they have to fight it. They can't let it go out, right? They have to fight that. And then from here, this is their feedback. Again, always using feedback. This is their feedback. They have to press into it. They have to extend. They have to have that happy kneecap. Wake up their quadriceps. Then you pull in that foot expression. So if you go up, so that's the mid joint. Now the long joint is going to articulate. So you can do demi, flex, demi, point, whatever you want there. Because when they flex their foot, this expression will change. Whatever you do to this joint, it's going to want to change the expression of this joint because it's a chain reaction. And we have to teach them how to maintain that no matter what's happening down here. That's what we're really trying to drive home. So they know that no matter what's happening in the ankle, this doesn't move. And then they can relax and release through the hip flexion. So we're just sort of driving home this idea that this whole piece is the puzzle, right? These are little pieces of the big leg chain puzzle, yeah? So then once that works, we want to strengthen their hip flexion. So the thing is, what we've noticed is there's a lot of confusion with, or not confusion, let's call it fear. I think there's fear with training hip flexors because we think it's going to make them too tight in their splits or whatever, something else. But the reality is, the more you train the hip flexor in a really strong, healthy way, the more they will be able to actually access the flexibility and mobility you want. So I think it's a bit of an old school mentality that we've all been caught up with, including myself, where we thought, no, if I strengthen, I won't be flexible, right? So we want to kind of change that mentality a little bit. And in this case, it's the hip flexors that we want to train. So we're training the quadricep down here, and now we want to get the quad up here and the hip flexion up here. And what's going to happen is, just bend your knee a little bit. When they lift, they're going to lose that knee access. They're going to lose that because it's harder the longer the limb is, right? So they'll be here and they'll do this beautiful extension, and you're like, okay, they have it. Now when they lift, they're going to cheat it a bit by falling only into the hip flexion. Now that's where we want to change the conversation. Artistic athletes, they need to understand that they're lifting from the bottom, not the top. So it's an undercarriage that takes you up. So we extend to lift the leg. We don't lift and then extend, right? If we're taking that leg into a short limb, well then the hamstring's engaged at the bottom anyways. So when it's in extension, we still need that hamstring to help support us. So we extend and lift and hold. And then slowly lower down, not fast. You can lift fast for power training, but eccentric control as you lower, always. Yeah?